Hey, good people, how are you doing? My name is Zorina, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And if you are a returning subscriber or part of the fam, thank you for coming. And I believe in my last video, I mentioned that I wanted to start a series speaking about relationships and all the relationships, whether it's a relationship with your significant other, if you're married, or a relationship with just your female friends, your children, relationships at work. I think it's necessary that we really talk about all of them. I did a previous video where I spoke in regards to the necessity of having a relationship with the Father. That is the first and primary relationship that you need to cultivate, because every relationship and the health of those relationships will flourish from having a relationship with the Father. Now, I will say, as a caveat to that, um, once you are in relationship with the Lord, He will prune away any dead pieces that are attached to your life. That's going to be a part of Him growing and stretching you. So don't be surprised if you have relationships that start to become difficult and they break away. Those are relationships that may not be a part of your destiny or walk with the Lord. So there will be relationships that you will grow and cultivate from, and relationships that will probably fall off to the wayside if you're really trying to have a walk with the Lord. And I'll be honest, before starting this video, I did take some time to pray, because I know I'm going to start talking about things that may be sensitive to some of you, that may not be always pleasing to the ear. But I promise you, if it's bothering you, it's probably likely that you're needing to grow in that area. So the first of the series, which I think is necessary to talk about, is relationships with the opposite sex. And so I will, of course, talk about the standpoint of a woman to a man. And there's a lot of videos, lots and lots of videos about your destiny helpers, and joining of relationships like man and woman, and marriages. Lots of prophetic words being spoken here on the platform that are speaking to relationships and marriages and kingdom spouses. And and I'm sure everybody is praying and believing, like, Lord, come on with the kingdom spouse, you know. And whether you're a man looking for a woman, or a woman that's desiring to be married, I will definitely tell you some hard truths now. Okay, disclosure statement. Some of the things I'm going to say are going to be acceptable to your ears, and some of it is going to be some hard reality. Sis, God's not going to give you a relationship if you haven't cultivated a good relationship with Him. Yeah, He's going to want you to want Him first. So you need to make sure that you work on Him. He needs to be your husband, your man first. You need to be leaning on Him first, and you need to grow that to where there's some roots in that relationship, because He doesn't want you to then get a man and then you forget all about him. Because once you get married or in a serious relationship, there will become you'll have additional responsibilities. You may find yourself dating more, going out more, cooking. If you end up married, that's going to pull on the time that you have with the Father. So it is necessary that you make sure that you build a relationship with the Father. Make sure it's authentic. Don't do it so that you can get the man, right? Because God already knows our heart. He's the creator. So do it from a place of love, do it from a place of true desire, and then God will give you the desires of your heart. And so I definitely want to talk about some things that, now let's say, okay, you have the relationship with the Father, things are going well, you're reading, you're worshiping, you're praying, you're just all things King Jesus, right? Now, let's start looking at, and if that's the case, God should be starting to do some work on the internal parts of you. He should be starting to fix up, pruning you inside and the outside parts of your life. You should, start feeling like, if you've had any bad vices, you have started to kind of, get rid of those. Not kind of, you've gotten rid of those, because you are now in the kingdom of God. So there are things that you should not be doing anymore. There are relationships with male friends or, men that you may have dated in your past that you've gotten rid of, right? Or you have put them off to the side. You are not engaging in anything that would be not pleasing to the Father. And you know what those things would be. If you're feeling any kind of way convicted about things that you are doing on your walk with the Lord, that means that you should stop doing it. And there's no gray area with Jesus. You either King Jesus or you over here in the world. In the middle, there's nothing in the middle. You either over here in the light or you're over here in the darkness. And so, the Bible says, choose ye this day who you will serve. And so just make sure that you're paying attention to, the internal you. It's best to work on the inside of you. If you have any traumas, if you have any anger issues, if you have any, anything that is not something that you need to carry into a relationship, that could be a hindrance for you, start praying and asking God to help you with those things. When I start, I'll share a little. When I started my walk with the Lord, there were things that were still attached to me. Because, when you come to the Lord, maybe not everybody, but most of us, you probably come out of the pigsty, right? You're a little dirty. But God comes and he kind of, hoses you off and dusts you off and prop you up and get you together, right? That was my life. And so in that, he then is going to little by little start pruning away the things that are not, godly, that are a part of your life. And if you are really trying to have a sincere walk with the Lord, be obedient and drop those things, drop those people, stop doing those things, stop going to those places, stop watching that thing, stop drinking all of that, stop sitting on the phone and having those type of conversations. Just start really putting your life under a Jesus microscope, right? And really doing some soul searching. Now, we're going to pretend like, okay, so you're walking with the Lord and that's going great. And you started pruning away those bad habits in your life that, was a part of you when you were in the world, right? So, you're starting to look a little better. You kind of cleaning up some things. Now, this cleaning thing about the inside of you as well as the outside of you. And now you need to start also looking at your environment. So if God has told you that there's a husband in store, if God has spoken to you or you have had a dream or a vision or something, or you have this feeling that God is telling you to prepare, then you are probably at a place where he's saying, let's get all the stuff cleaned up. Sis, if you if your house not right, clean your house. If you have bad habits of letting things pile up in your house, or you got kind of a pack rat situation going on, clean it up, throw it out, make space in your life, make space, because when you make space in your life, you're also making mental space, right? So just really start cleaning up your entire life, because really ultimately, what you're trying to cultivate is an atmosphere that is not only conducive for the Lord to be sitting in your space, but that man that he's bringing to you, right? And if you have been single for a while and maybe you've gotten a little lazy and things have started to pile up and you're not keeping your home as good as you used to, your clothes are probably, not like they should be, you haven't been eating as well, or you haven't been kind of working out, start really paying close attention to those things. Because we as women, whether Christian or not, we all have eyes. God has blessed us with eyes. We know what beauty looks like. We know what it looks like when you walk out of the house, when you're going shopping, when you're buying something. And so you also know what beauty looks like in your eyes when you see a man or you see a woman. And so as a woman, when you're seeing this man and you find him attractive, not in a lustful way, but in an observation type of way, there may be something that's standing out about him. So just make sure that whatever it is that you like, whether it's the physique of a man, how he dresses, how he smells, how he speaks, his intelligence, how he has his hair cut, whatever those things are. Men are even more visual than we are as women. So make sure that you are visually beautiful. Don't leave the house, Lord. Please don't leave the house with pajama pants on and slippers, or God forbid, some bonnet on your head or anything that would make you look like you just need to stay in the house and clean up. If you're outside of the house with something on like that, you're not appealing to probably any man at any caliber. And so a man that comes from God is going to want to have a woman that looks like she has come from God, like just fall from heaven. So be mindful of how you look when you leave the house, even if it's a quick run. You can say, I'm just going to go get some gas and I'm going to go to the ATM machine. There is always somebody that seems to run into you when you're not always looking your best. So if you have to go buy, a $20 sweatsuit or something that matches from Walmart or anything, just to something to put on real quick to go run a quick errand, have that. But never the pajama pants, never the slippers, never a bonnet or anything that makes you look unkept. And you know what that looks like. I will be honest, I was in a Verizon store about a month ago, and there was this young lady in there. She might have been probably in her mid to late 20s. And I was waiting on the sales guy to come and bring me my items. And I'm like, side eye looking like, what? She came in with her robe on. And the robe stopped at her knees, and she had on pajama pants and slippers. She literally came into the Verizon store with her house clothes on, her pajamas, basically. And it was approximately about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. That is unacceptable. That's unacceptable as a single woman, as a married woman. It's unacceptable unless you are at home walking around at 1 or 2 o'clock in the hospital with that on. in public, I feel that is, um, it's just being lazy. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It's just being lazy. There are so many things that you could find to wear that are quick and easy to put on. And if you don't have time to do your hair, they have cute baseball caps. When you buy that sweatsuit, find you a baseball cap to match, put on some earrings, and go run that quick errand. At least you'll feel better about running into someone because you're at least appropriately dressed. And I want to believe that anybody that's watching my videos, I'm not telling you something that's offensive because you're already doing it. So, and just consider, if you met a man and every time you saw him, he was just really dusty and grimy and dirty, and hair hadn't been combed, or he hadn't had a good haircut in a while. Just all the things. Nails were dirty, just just whatever would kind of be a turn off for you as a woman. And you know you're not going to want that man more than likely to approach you to want to date you. It's no different than when a man sees you and you're in your house clothes, your pajamas in public. So, be mindful of those things. And so, in the whole trying to get yourself ready for your kingdom spouse, make sure that you're doing the appropriate housekeeping. Get yourself together, all the way together. And if you still have some internal issues, some internal trauma that you have had in your life for a while, get rid of those things and get God to help you. If you need to, really pray and fast to kind of work on the internal parts of you, then, I suggest that you really do that. Like put in some real effort so that when you meet your kingdom spouse, you are presenting the most authentic and best version of who you are in Christ. And, but all along, of course, you need to make sure that you are evolving God in this evolution of you becoming this woman. And, in the book of Esther, in Esther, she had to be prepared for the king. And I want to just read this to you real quick. So it's on chapter 5, verse 1. On the third day, I'm in the Amplified Bible. On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the royal or inner court of the king's palace opposite his throne room. The king was sitting on his throne facing the main entrance of the palace. And when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing there in the court, she obtained favor in his sight, and he held out to her the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the tip of the scepter. Then the king said to her, "What will you have, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given you, even to the half of the kingdom." So right there, you can see that Esther just, from the time she, was done with being beautified, as I put it, it was like this whole ritual for the women to be, just taken care of for a period of time before they were even presented to the king. So you should really read the book of Esther, especially this, the 5th chapter, and you can see how she came out and she was presented to him. She obtained immediate favor. He then referred to her as queen, and obviously when she came into the entryway, and he saw her beauty captivated him. And so this is what I'm referring to, is making sure that you are taking care of the whole you. And I will be honest, if you're not, so you got your house together and you're doing everything with the Lord, and you're educated, and you've got the job, and you've done all these things, right? um Take care of your body. Let's take care of the body, and eat right, take care of your body. If that means you need to start working out, I'm not saying you have to lose weight. I'm saying take care of your whole self. This is a holistic transformation, right? Similar to what Esther went through. She went through a series, I think it was a year, if I'm not mistaken, where they just worked on the women and before they were even presented to the king. So do the work on yourself. And we all know as women, like, if there is something about us that needs to be um improved. Now, I'm not saying like everything is going to be something that needs to be improved, because sometimes we may be too critical. So, but those external things, those things on the inside of us, start working on those things. And one thing I do want to say, I'm going to, put a little caution out there as well. Ladies, don't be too desperate. Um, don't have your desire so high, aka thirsty, for a man that your antennas are down. And by that I mean, you have a lack of discernment, because the devil's going to bring you a man too. Yeah. And if you are, God has put this dream or this desire in you, and so you're like, every man that walks by is like, is that my husband? Is that my husband? Is that my husband? Is that my husband over there? No, don't be like that. Keep working on your relationship with the Father. He is your husband. And once he feels you are getting closer to that place of being prepared, then when you're least thinking about it, least likely to be even in a situation where you think you may meet him, is when he will show up. That's why you need to make sure when you leave the house that you leave the house presentable. And so, because the devil's going to present someone to you also, have your antennas up, pay attention, ask God for discernment. That is a part of your prayer. That is a part of building your relationship with God. Ask him to make sure to ask for wisdom and discernment, to give you eyes to see and ears to hear in the spiritual realm, so that your flesh isn't more powerful than your spirit, so that when the devil presents his man for you, that you don't take him. And if, and you're probably like, well, how do you know? Well, sometimes you need to let that man keep talking. If you happen to go out in the daytime, he's not coming to your house. So in the daytime, you may go somewhere and just start letting him talk more than you are talking. And, you can ask some questions or whatever, but you're listening and asking, some questions, and trying to get a discernment here. And then once that evening or that date is over and you're in your quiet time with the Father, ask God, if this is not from you, remove him immediately. And you want to have that prayer because you don't want him to hook your heart. We as women, we are emotional beings. And so that's why you need to have your antennas up. You need to be solid and rooted in God, so that you don't take the devil's husband for you. You want it to be God's husband. So align him and the things that he is saying to the Father, and pay attention, and just you'll know, you will know, as long as you are making sure that God is first. And if you keep God's first and his desire for you at the front of your mind, you will make the right decision on taking the appropriate steps. And I would also, suggest in that you just be relaxed in the conversations, and do something that is out and about, in the daytime preferably. That way you're not susceptible to anything happening that you would not want to happen. We are looking and expecting kingdom spouses. So keep that in mind as well. There is one other verse I want to read to you from Second Chronicles. I'm getting up on time, so let me hurry. I'm sorry, Second Corinthians 5 and verse 21. For our sake he made Christ to be sin who knew no sin, so that in and through him we might become, the righteousness of God, what we ought to be, approved and acceptable in right relationship with him by his goodness. So you want to make sure that in this season of, you know, preparing for your kingdom spouse, that you are in right relationship with God. God will help you on the internal parts of you. He will prune you from having those things that were attached to you, that were, that you brought in from your sinful life. He will prune those things away from you. He will, start working on you to prepare you for your kingdom spouse. Now, I will end with this. If God has given you a vision, a prayer, a vision or a dream, or he has spoken to you about your kingdom spouse, start praying for that man or that woman now. When you have your time of prayer, start praying that God is doing a new thing in your spouse, that God is pruning away those dead pieces from your spouse's life. And just pray that, the blood of Jesus is over him or her, and that they are being strengthened by the Lord daily. And just have a prayer over them as they, are in their walk. They, you may find that your kingdom spouse may be at a different maturity level than you. You could be higher or they could be higher. Whichever way it is, keep praying for them, and keep building your relationship with the Lord, and keep asking the Father to perfect you and your walk with the Father. And I will say then, once you meet this man, this woman, and this union starts to grow, then you guys can keep growing and blossoming together and building on that relationship. So that's what I want to give you guys, those couple of scriptures, and that, a little bit of encouragement to, to really take a look at yourself, the places and areas of your life where you need to do a little improvement. Bring the Father in and ask him, please, help me in some of these areas, or show me myself. We already probably know there are things that we need to improve on. So I'm going to leave you with that, and we will continue this relationship series. And I wish you all well. God bless, and be at peace. All right. You guys have a great one, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.